our friends, just as it is boldly stated across the various police stations nationwide. And from mainland 98.3 FM, we implore you to do better. We love you and we support you always.
Those who could improve this situation for the good of all of us do not allow the opportunity to make things better for all. They make it better for themselves, for their comfort and their family. Cronyism is prevailing. Today, our rulers in Abuja and across some of their states, you know what they say to us when they remove subsidy and we say no. Hunger is increasing, they say so what? Unemployment is a cause, they say yes, we know. Why are the people hungry? Then let them face death. That is what is in Abuja of today. The current way of governance, make nation do the impossible. What it does, it makes poverty and the erosion of just society inevitable. We have gathered at this hour in this place to put an end to the national corruption and corruption. We have assembled here today to bring a new day and a new Nigeria to our people. Today, the Nigerian people are decent and hardworking people. They are equally long-suffering. They tolerate for too long. Just because they are long-suffering does not mean they should be forced to suffer on death come. We, our people, we've had enough of excuses. Our people have had enough of having nothing. The current government's trademark is to throw empty words, call action at our problem, as if doing nothing will cause our troubles to live for sheer boredom. Unemployment increasing. Industrialization, we have not. Refinery, nothing is working. Electricity, they lie. If this is the government of, if this is the government's idea of transformation, and we have none of it, we should not have any of it. Because before, we said the government of slow motion. Now, it is the government of no motion at all. If they want to stand still at the bus stop or train station and be stagnated without poverty, they have the right to do so, and we have a right to kick them out. Not enough that they are stealing from our children tomorrow for lack of investment in education. They are still embezzling the retirement benefit of hardworking Nigerians, including our grandfathers. They are stealing the port, the treasury, not even leaving some coins for us to war with. Let them be out. Out now.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to the Situation Room live on mainland 98.3 FM. Apologies for starting a little bit behind our normal time. We just have to tidy up one or two things to make sure that our guest is on standby, and of course, we'll have a pretty good ride. I will always do 4 to 5:30 p.m. every Monday to Friday. Once again, you're welcome. I want to assume your day's been going well. Mine had been a bit of, I just struggling all through the week, but I would always say the show has to go on. And yet again, let me still iterate my position since on this show, and it's an appeal to you from mainland 98.3 FM to make sure you get yourself superbly hydrated. That means as little as a sachet of pure water. Make sure you drink as much water as you can drink. And this is why the weather has been super hot right now, unusually hot for February. February is always a bit of some, mild weather, probably rain one or two places, but it's just been a bit different. I think a lot of us, especially those of us that don't think the old talk of the depletion of the ozone layer or anything about the climate change is real. I'm sure you understand what we're saying right now. It's been extremely hot in the city of Lagos, so do the best you can to help yourself to stay healthy, because the last place you want to go to right now is any medical facility, whether it's private or government owned, and then seek for medical attention. You would be surprised that what you may not be able to afford financially, when it gets bad, something as little as drinking enough water can actually save you all of that stress. So once again, it's an appeal to you to make sure that you keep yourself as hydrated as possible. I don't know how people do it, but somebody said, oh, if I'm not feeling thirsty, I don't think there's a need for me to drink water. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're listening to me today, make sure you drink as much water as you can afford to drink every day. Well, my name is 광광ᴜ Akínyẹ̀dé, and if this is the first time you're joining us on the show, I welcome you. We'll always do this every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. 90 straight minutes of conversation around leadership, governance, politics, accountability, rule of law, democracy, everything you need to know about this situation, whatever situation that we're dealing with at the moment. Today on the show, we're going to go a bit into some environmental issue, and we're going to be having a quick stop in the Niger Delta region. And I'm sure this is a conversation that would interest a lot of us, especially on the back of the position of the federal government. Oil exploration would have to return in some communities that have stopped allowing oil exploration, and the federal government is doing the best they think it's logical enough to set up committees to look into some of the demands of the agitators within the Niger Delta region. There's a target to meet the 2 million barrel per day demand of Nigeria being a member of OPEC, and that means there has to be more exploration going on in the Niger Delta. But the question is this: the bulk of the concerns that have been raised by pressure groups, by the agitators within the region, are very recent. The Pan-Niger Delta Forum, that the one everyone calls PANDEF, still asked the president to sign the South-South Development Commission bill into law. Remember, in October 2024, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu scrapped the Niger Delta Ministry alongside the Ministry of Sports. And a lot of people have said, hey, it's not just about scrapping the Niger Delta region, Niger Delta Ministry. What about returning the NDDC, that's Niger Delta Development Commission, to the original name? What about capturing more concerned interest? And funny enough, this is a region that seems to be the bedrock of whatever we want to do in this country, in terms of allocation, in terms of monies, whatever it is that the federal government is having on their projections. The relative peace in the Niger Delta region is super important for us to have that level of consistency in our economic development, in terms of budget allocation, in terms of monies for development, there has to be peace in the Niger Delta region. I remember when late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, came up on board, and then the whole amnesty conversation brought some relative level of peace to the region. But again, there's also been, reports here and there of issues that has to do with some troubled spots, or maybe some concerned zones in the region. But the most important thing is that if exploration would have to return in certain communities in the Niger Delta region, there has to be, deliberate effort around social justice, environmental challenges in that region. I think in 2014 or thereabout, or 2015, I was in Bayelsa for a convention, and the hotel we lodged, I think somewhere around the Sɪᴛᴜᴛᴇʀ Stadium. There's a place they call Salvation Road leading to the government house in Yenagoa. Is a very long stretch of way, and then we wanted to buy water, and then the bottled water they sold for us had the address of Port Harcourt on it. And I asked my friend, I said, how come you guys don't? He said it is difficult to find any pure water factory in Bayelsa. Reason being that if you try to dig any borehole, it is already contaminated. And I asked myself that, how do you guys survive this? And he said, hey, that's one of the problems they are facing, the fact that government has kind of neglected them, and it has brought a lot of agitation. It's a lot of concerns. My guest today is Mr. Chijioke Alexander Orji. He's a certified management accountant and a project man. In fact, he's a man of many parts, and he's going to lead us into that conversation today. We're going to look at the impact of social justice in that region, the need for the government to be deliberate in making sure that the challenges that we have in that region is fixed, so that whatever it is that the government wants to do would have to be done from the place of social justice, so that nobody's going to feel marginalized, nobody's going to feel sidelined, especially the people that feel like, if the gold in Bayelsa can belong to Bayelsa, then the oil in the Niger Delta should also belong to those of us in the Niger Delta. And it's been a lot of concerns. Once again, you're welcome. My name is Oᴑᴜ Akene. Let me take a quick break and establish contact with Mr. Alexander Chijioke Orji, my guest today, and then the program returns. Stay with us.
Things seems anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us now, there is nothing, we are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join Oᴑᴜ Akínyòdé as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial mainland 98.3 FM. We'll welcome you, roommates, as we discuss the situations.
Gender equality is a human rights issue. It is about ensuring that everyone, regardless of their gender, has the same opportunities, rights, and protections. Challenging stereotypes, breaking down barriers, and creating a more inclusive society where everyone is treated with respect and dignity is a collective responsibility. Gender disparities start out small, in homes and communities, and these harmful gender norms progress and are perpetuated at the highest levels. In some countries, they become entrenched in laws and policies that violate the rights of individuals because of their gender. Discriminatory teaching practices and education materials also produce gender gaps in learning and skills development. Let us stand up for gender equality, support each other, and strive for a world where everyone can thrive and reach their full potential.
Seems anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there's not. If there were,
In our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us now, there is nothing, we are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 𝐴괤ᴜᴜ as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial. Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you, roommates, as we discuss the situations.
Oga Police, no worry, I see you. You know you can do the right thing, right? You know you can do without that bribe. You know you don't even have to harass that young man because he is properly dressed. And you think he's a Yahoo boy? You don't even have to assault that citizen whom you have sworn an oath to protect. Yes, we understand that the pay is not good enough to take you home. That you are still wearing a uniform that you bought with your own money 5 years ago. It's no news that the government has not done enough by you. We feel your pain and we wish things could be different as we continue to call on government to wake up to their responsibilities. We want the police to be our friends, just as it is boldly stated across the various police stations nationwide. And from mainland 98.3 FM, we implore you to do better. We love you and we support you always.
song with one voice. We're a nation undivided and poised. We will take us down and build our land in faith to defend what is ours. Here we are as a people with one heart for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom reigns and truth prevails, our land where there's hope for us all. Our land where there's hope for us all. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll defend our land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll shine like the sun. We're a great nation. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in our strength and resolve to uphold the honor of our land and for generations to come. And for generations to come. We'll defend our land. We believe.
Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial.
Things seems anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there's not. If there were,
In our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us now, there is nothing, we are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 𝐴괤ᴜmī as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you roommates as we discuss the situations.
Okay, welcome back. That was a very lengthy break, but of course, it wasn't intentional. We had to just make sure that we got, everything really spot on to have a very healthy conversation on the show today. And if you followed us for the number of years this program has been like this, you'd certainly know that I would always give you excellence. Like it always say, on the Gen Z space, it is excellence or nothing exactly. I had to change the word from luxury to excellence. But once again, you're welcome to the show. Well, if you followed the conversation in the last maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, I've been intentional about making sure that every single week we have a conversation that is centered around creating awareness ahead of the 2027 election. And this is why, in case you're wondering, and you're thinking, 2027 is very far, we've not even done 2025, we've not done 2026. I'm sure you probably want to put yourself in the shoes of INEC as we speak, because INEC, being the body saddled with the responsibility of organizing election in this country, means that all year round there's always an election. In 2023, after the entire process of the general election, we still had off-cycle elections in Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa to elect the governors of those states. Last year, 2024, we had also in Edo and Ondo, that September and November respectively, in Anambra State. By 2026, it's going to be Osun and Ekiti State. And I think that's one election a lot of people will be keenly interested in. And by 2027, we'll get back into the regular cycle of the presidential, national, and state houses of assembly elections. So it's an all year round thing for us. And if we have to wait until we got close to election, that is for us. The P for Information in Rivers State joined us on the show and was talking about the fact that in Rivers it is all year round politics, 247. And that is not just to Rivers State alone. The people that want to get into office, if you are really serious about your ambition by now, you would have started, making consultations, speaking to the people, trying to see how much money you can put together. By the way, to governorship election in the state, 50% of it for youths that are under 40 and women, people living with disabilities will get their forms for free. That is for the All Progressive Congress. We're waiting for the PDP. We're waiting for the Labour Party. That means election is more like a profession. I mean, I can wake up and say, I'm a professional footballer, I'm a professional journalist. That's what I do full time. There are professional politicians in this country. Nothing else. It is politics, politicking, the act of winning election, however way it comes. That is what some people live and sleep on in this country. So if you being the electorate, you're waiting for us to get to the point where, let me just go to the polls. In February, let me elect who becomes my president. In March, let me elect who becomes my governor. Don't forget that we need to set the engagement going so that it's not just going to be about what is applicable on the day of election, but the build up to the election. Well, welcome once again to the show. Today, my guest is here and he's a social crusader and he's a man of many parts. Maybe by the time we're done with this program, then we'll understand that truly, my guest understand the pains of the people that we want to address on the show today. Well, if you've been privileged to get to the Niger Delta region of this country, then you understand the need and the yearnings and the aspiration of the people from that region. And my guest today is Mr. Chijioke Alexander Orji. Like I said, he's a man of many parts. Environmental campaign advocate, he's a certified management accountant, he's a project manager. He's just balanced from both sides. He joins me all the way from Switzerland today on the show. And we're going to be looking at conservation around social justice, environmental challenges, and oil exploration in the Niger Delta. I told you about my experience when I went to Bayelsa sometime around 2014 or thereabout. And I found out that pure water, bottled water that was being sold in Bayelsa had Port Harcourt address on it. And I asked, why is it difficult for you guys to, set up your water factory in Bayelsa? Yes, Port Harcourt is not very far from Bayelsa, about 45 minutes or thereabout. And he said, there's barely anywhere in Bayelsa where you can conveniently erect a borehole. without having it contaminated. And I'm like, okay, this is almost about, I remember it was a night trip. We got into Bayelsa, I think, around 2 a.m. and you could see oil exploration, you could see all oil field, you could see fire, and I'm like, okay, so these people constantly demand absolute attention from the government. Mr. Alexander, good to have you on the show today. It's been a bit stressful, trying to get you up here, but thank you very much for joining us out of your very busy schedule.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you again. Thank you for the good work you're doing. It's not easy. Indeed, you're paying a lot of helps and helping millions of Nigerians to be enlightened on the situations. It's not an easy job. I must thank you and your team for the good job you're doing. Thank you again, my brother. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And I must admit that what I'm doing is little or nothing close to some of the things you've done. I've read quite a few stuff about you, and I must admit that your voice has been really loud, especially when it comes to people getting what they deserve, especially in a democracy that we practice in this country. So once again, we also thank you for the stuff that you're doing, and it's my pleasure to have you join us on the show today.
Thank you.
And oil exploration, the whole conversation of the gold in Bayelsa belongs to Bayelsa, the gold in Osun belongs to Osun, the bitumen in Kaduna belongs to Kaduna, the lithium in Plateau belongs to Plateau, but the oil in Bayelsa belongs to everybody. We're going to come address that issue very soon. But let me take your thoughts about the conversation of state creation. I'm sure you're very, very interested in that as well. We presently have 36 states and the FCT, which was struggling to keep afloat. One of the states in this country that literally depends as much as 92% of their survival on federal allocation is Bayelsa State. You look at state within the Niger Delta region, 75%. That means they can barely, what they generate can barely even manage the government house every month. That means they depend on what comes from Abuja. But creating additional states, well, a lot of people have questioned the timing. A lot of people have questioned the rationale behind the demand for more states. What is your thought about that, Mr.
Of the state creation is the least of Nigeria's current problem, considering the humongous problems created by the current administration and the immediate past administration. Somebody, looking elsewhere and expecting that to the Nigerian system, because let's not forget that the major issue we have as a country today is that we have few individuals that are more powerful than the state itself. Many Nigerians are not aware that despite the outcry by a few of us, including those who are making impactful programs on daily basis and shouting to the Nigerian public, that we have gotten to a situation where everything has collapsed. Nothing is working. And we have few individuals who are more powerful than the states, and they do anything and get away with it. What you're seeing is a situation states being created for. Most of the states are not viable. Like you've said, if a state like Bayelsa can depend about 92% of what it gets from Abuja because of the rulers, we are in a quagmire and in lack of leadership. What we have are reckless rulers who don't give a hoot because the Nigerian people have been so distracted by hunger, deprivation, ignorance. And these are the main things they have been using over the years to continue to, over time, manage the people and put them in perpetual penury. Let's take even Bayelsa for an instance. Over the years, what would Bayelsa with the littlest population not be able to manage and create infrastructures that would take the state to the next level? Is it rocket science that in today's world, despite the humongous amounts being flouted by these rulers who are reckless, and because there's nobody to challenge them, there is nothing they can do, they own the entire whole system. So for many of us who are speaking out, we have been seeing, the antics. We've been seeing what has been happening. We've been seeing what they have been doing. You get. So It is in the list of Nigerians' problems to even think of creating an additional state. Truth be told, Nigeria as a nation, endowed with natural resources and human resources, has all it takes to even be better and be in the league of the best nations in the world. But because of certain level of human beings who have lost the right to be called human beings, because their joy is the pains of Nigerians. And it has continued to happen over the years. And that is why they have refused and constantly held this nation to the jugular and the people. The way the nation is designed, it's producing the food, the south producing the machineries, the east producing all the necessary equipment and managing the commerce and the industries. What a nation we would have. But whenever it displeases the shareholders, not the Western, I think Nigerians have got to understand that it is not the West that are holding Nigerians to jugular. No, it is the shareholders. And whenever they are displeased with the sharing formula, that is when you hear that he is from this part of this country. That is when you hear marginalization. That is when you hear that there is disruption, because indeed it doesn't suit him with the sharing formula. So the state creation is simply targeted to, create settlement benefits for the same rulers who have continued to hold Nigerians to ransom and always pointing to the West. The West are not Nigerians' problem as of today. It is the same rulers, the same set of heartless cabals that have continued to hold the country, that want to split it more so that it can be easier to continue to collect their royalties. That's all.
Yesterday on the show, Mr. Alexander, both guests that I had, were almost took the same side of your conversation. I had a member of the academia, the sub-dean from the Faculty of Social Science from the University of Lagos, and he also, alluded to the fact that the problem we have is not more states, or the solution is not creating more states. It is making sure that the ones we have are actually working. He gave an example of, somebody, you have kids you've not been able to take care of, and you still decide to get married and give birth to more children. And that is absolutely where you're coming in from as well. But I mean, a lot of people have also said, hey, we have, maybe senatorial districts that are due for states. There's the issue of Ijebu State, issue of Lagoon State, that Lagos is big enough that it could have its own state. Do you think having proper dividends of democracy, Mr. Alexander Oji, or you think if the government give a face to leadership, do you think it will quell all of these agitations, or you genuinely think the agitations are probably well called for?
My brother, let me just take you a little bit to memory lane. Some years ago, there was the anchor, the quest that if we had a good election, if we elected the leader we wanted, things would become what we wanted. 15th election was one of the elections everybody was happy to say that the people's wish were answered in terms of elections.
Hello?
Need for accountability is the need for somebody who can get up there and without looking at the phone, without whether it is my brother or it is my sister. As a matter of fact, I as an individual went through so much pains to campaign for General Muhammad Buhari to come into power, because we felt that would have brought in the equational balance of, for once, let those that we have heard every time there is any corruption or there is killings or there is destructions, we hear the people will be brought to book. Has anybody ever asked what happens to those books? As a matter of fact, I think the president left with so many books because he became the rhetorist. The people will be brought to book. So we kept on asking that the books that was kept before Abacha came, and the books that was even kept from Shagari time, and the ones that were kept during Obasanjo time, and all the administrations that came after. Maybe that this man will have that leadership, to be able to carry on without fear of favor to anybody. What did we get? We got the greatest economic catastrophe. The only thing that can set the country free is not about election, but the quest to carry out the best principles of law that we have as a nation. We have the best laws, just in every. But the biggest problem is carrying out these laws without fear of favor to anybody. We now operate a system where individuals can be at home and tell what they want, because the owners of Nigerians must be appeased at every point. So, in such situations, do not expect that there will be changes. There will not be meaningful changes because these individuals are holding the country to the jugular. And remember, a sitting president who felt he didn't have the power to name the individuals called them cabals. And ever since then, we have started using the word cabals because he felt that these individuals were too big
to be named.
Not only that they couldn't be shamed, because the only achievement most Nigerian law system now achieves is to shame them. And have you noticed that the people have become shameless?
You can't shame the shameless.
So, yes, because they tell you we want to name them so that we can shame them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a society in the 21st century aspiring to shame thieves, rogues, killers, murderers? Like 괰ᴜᴜ in a recent time said, those who should be in prison are the ones sending people to prison. How do you define it? And this is a country which is setting up targets to be among the leagues of leading nations. It only tells you one thing, that so long as we continue to do the same thing and expecting a different result, then we are living in a dream world. Look at the whole aspiration. It is not targeted on how to create more jobs. It's not targeted on how to, create more infrastructures. It is targeted about how to destroy the entire economy, and so that some individuals can continue to live above their means without being questioned. Let's even look at our states. Dear Lagos State, because over the 4 years I have been in Lagos State, I have paid taxes to Lagos State for over 17 years. Lagos State embarked on projects that till today we are yet to see the faces. I'm talking about projects that over 20 years we've been promised deliveries. What is Lagos State's biggest issue in incentive of the minimum basic transport system? You don't need the human. Why don't we set up a track? Just set up the track, just in the middle of the cars, the same roads that vehicles fly on. You just impute a track to which a tram train can run. You don't even have to build a separate track that is costing so much, and you're not even giving the contracts to Nigerians. We're having foreigners come in, take the jobs, take the money, dictate to us, and enslave our people. And yet these projects are not coming to life. What miracle do Nigerians expect that's going to happen? So, the whole idea and the whole centerpiece will never be able to produce anything meaningful, because incidentally, some of the people which we now call the cabals, they know. Because every now and then, they leave the country and they can see from outside, look at it from the outside. That is the major issues that Nigerians are failing to realize. Apart from the fact that the power belongs to the people, Nigerians have been too distracted with hunger and so many deprivations to even begin to ask of their rights. Look at the oil and gas sector, which I'm hoping will come into, because it's about time Nigerians know what is happening there. A drama written and orchestrated by this same wicked cabals.
Okay, so let's slide into the conversation now. When you started talking, Mr. Alexander Oji, you made mention of a very critical part of this conversation, which is the government having a face. That means the basic definition of democracy says the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That means the people reserve the right to choose who presides over them, who legislates on their behalf,
right,
or who makes law for them. Now, let's talk about the Niger Delta region. It's a region that have had issues of hardship, issues of, you can get all of the adjectives you can imagine, from the Ogoni era, the promise of a cleanup, the promise of this, the promises of that, and we knew how much of a very hotbed that region was under the administration of former President Obasanjo. The kidnappings, the vandalization, the oil thefts, and then when the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua came in, and then the old talk of amnesty came in, the establishment of the Niger Delta, Ministry of Niger Delta, it looks like it brought some level of sanity into that region. And but let's talk about social justice, which is really we can't fish anymore, we can't survive anymore. I'm sure you listened to my experience when I went to Bayelsa, and where we were lodged, all the water we drank, all of my 3 days in Bayelsa had Port Harcourt address on it. And I started asking, is it that you guys don't manufacture pure water or bottled water here? They said, oh, it's difficult to dig a borehole in Bayelsa because of the environmental effect and all of that. How much development do you think we can experience in that region? The president is reaching out to the leaders of the region. He's setting up committee to look into the issues in the region with the hope that there could be a return to oil exploration in that region in an attempt to meet our 2 million barrel per day demand. How important, Mr. Oji, do you think the issue of social justice in that region before any development or before any exploration whatsoever?
My big brother, I will tell you one amazing thing today. I wish indeed that we can, as a nation, truly say enough is enough. Enough of the deceit, enough of the, merry-go-round. Because all that you have been seeing are been intensified and also have continued to suffer in penury. For how long they will dictate, we don't know. And the amazing thing is how Nigerians are able to absorb the shock.
And we just move on.
Yes, like as if nothing happened. Despite all that he said. In fact, the most annoying ones are the ones that come on the screen. People who have been set up as leadership, who should be accountable. These are the people you're supposed to ask questions. And they're supposed to give reasonable answers to why this is working or why this is not working. I will come back to the issue of deprivation. But let's also even ask ourselves as Nigerians. Because the businessmen, the shareholders of Nigeria, who are the businessmen, they always make sure that their interest at every point in time is covered. Nigerians today are waking up to the surprisation that the Port Harcourt refinery, which has been promised countless times, it will come on float, it will work, fuel will be sold at 87 naira, and diesel will be sold at maybe 110 naira, and yet we had the same NNPC GMD, which is GMCO now, come on stream with my pregnant brother, Henneken, the Minister for Petroleum, who suddenly, as he assumed the office, the pregnancy increased. And we were thinking that, okay, very soon he will deliver. In fact, at the point in time when he gave the target that by December, us were, okay, maybe by that time he too will deliver. Yes.
Mr. Oji, I catch your sarcasm.
Get on ground. What Nigerians should be asking is, what was the agreement before the commencement of services, maintenances, and upgrades or restoration of the Port Harcourt refinery that was to come on stream? That should be telling Nigerians. And when we're expecting that Nigerians should be questioning what happened to the agreement and the company called Tecnomont, an Italian giant oil firm that came into Nigeria. Their pally and the understanding they had with the previous administration, General Muhammad Buhari's administration, as the Minister of Petroleum. Both for gas and petroleum, because today we now have gas and petroleum. Because of this, we will now know this, including all the agreements and what is playing out there today. When we heard the news that it was going to come on stream last year, December, a lot of us laughed. Yeah, a lot of us laughed because we knew that it was a mocker and a joke. So when Henneken and his Melaikere were coming on the board and telling Nigerians that it was going to come up, the refinery will commence operations, we knew it was a joke. Because I personally went to the refinery. So they should be explaining to Nigerians why the contractors who Tecnomont brought into work left because of disagreement and money owed to them. My brother, it's a story for another day, but I expect Nigerians now, with the information they have, to go after these rulers and ask them what is really going on. Because very soon, I'm going to put out the publications out there, so Nigerians will know what has really taken place. They have been making sure that we do not put out these information. Why? Because they know it will bring down their castles down. Now we have a sitting minister for petroleum who came in. All of a sudden, he has his press team traveling with him. We don't know who and who is funding that press team. We have all the luxury trips he's been going for. And yet, this is a country that is trying to work on a very lean budget. A country that is borrowing so much to finance its budget and yet still increasing the budgets. And yet, its currency continues to be devalued on a daily basis. And it continues to be printed more and more by foreign contractors. But we are aware how much it is taking. In fact, we don't know yet, recently, how much now it costs to print a single note of Nigerian currency. But yet, we are told that the country is in good condition because the current CBN governor is doing well in their own ratings. But let's bring it home, back to the Niger Delta. This is a region where, despite the fact there have been so much outcry from this region, that even to have the basic necessity such as water, even good air, if you go to some communities where there is flaring, you will understand what it is to live in a troubled environment. I will give you one instance. If you go to places like Obiaruku and Co, these are in Delta states, you can imagine what the communities live. Continuous gas flare. It heats up the atmosphere.
I saw a few of that.
Leaves residues of mute on the air. And all kinds of things that these individuals go through.
Mr. Alexander Oji, please let me hold your thought here. I remember I shared a story of my first visit to Bayelsa, and it was a night trip. When I got into Yenagoa and I started seeing those gas flaring in the night, I told myself that it seems there's a lot of problem that I need to address here. But I would also have to hold your thought because I'm due for break, just about 2 minutes. Let me quickly pay some bills. I would love to have you on standby. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Please, if you don't mind. Very short break.
I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Hey lovers, our favorite season of the year is upon us again. And to celebrate the season, Franny's Restaurant and Mainland 98.3 FM has something special for us. As the countdown to Valentine begins, so also are we ready to fill your tummy on a daily basis. Listen to all our shows every day from now up until the 15th of February 2025 and stand a chance to win a meal voucher to have the time of your life at Franny's Restaurant at Ilupeju. It's also Franny's second anniversary, and they have special events on the 12th and the 15th of February that you cannot afford to miss. There will also be an avenue for you to redeem your meal vouchers. On the 12th, there's the anniversary special, a karaoke session, and you have the opportunity to win fantastic gifts during the raffle draw. On the 14th, there will be a Valentine vibe alongside love messages, love and chill, and opportunity to take photos in the photo booth. I'm sure you don't want to miss any of this, so keep listening to Mainland 98.3 FM to stand the chance to win the meal vouchers. Call 0806 703 0121 for further inquiries.
Chai, my head, oh. Oga landlord, why you dey shake like ceiling fan? My village people don't come again, oh. This one with your body hot so, you don't do test? Yes, see result, oh. Oga landlord, no be your village people, oh. Na malaria, you need Luta. Luta na better medicine wey dey knack down malaria. Oya see am, take am. Hey, thank you, Oga Luta. I don't dey kampe. Luta, brand of Artemata and Lumefantrine, is another quality product from Hovid, marketed by Pharmatex Nigeria Limited. If symptoms persist after 3 days, see your doctor.
Everybody say thanks, Luta. Malaria's in big trouble.
For a decade, the Access Bank Lagos City Marathon has been more than just a race. It's been a collection of stories of ordinary people achieving the extraordinary. Every stride taken has created unforgettable memories, memories of triumph, purpose, and shared experiences. With each step, runners have sparked passion that ignites, moments that last a lifetime, strides that leave a legacy. Join us as we celebrate a decade of running, purpose, and progress at the 10th anniversary of the Access Bank Lagos City Marathon. Register today at accessbankplc.com/marathon and be a part of the journey where every step becomes a story to remember.
The Access Bank Lagos City Marathon, celebrating 10 years of running. See you at the starting line.
Hi, Erica.
Yemi, I learned that Betano is sending 3 football fans to England to watch the big game of Aston Villa versus Tottenham for free. Imagine us going there together. That would be amazing. Okay, bye.
What? He hung up to play.
Play with Betano and stand a chance to win an all-inclusive trip to the UK to watch live the big game of Aston Villa versus Tottenham. Betano, proud partner of Aston Villa. Play responsibly. Available only to those over the age of 18. The promo is valid from November 1st to February 28th, 2025.
Oga, this your engine don't kaput. After you don't make me repair. See the kind thing we talk. Oga, don't be my fault now. I said you walk. Now your engine no good. Hello, my engine.
My people, una sabi say one way to make sure say una motor and generator engine them work wella. Na to dey buy ogbonge quality petrol. That na why Dangote Refinery don't find way to refine their petrol to give us ogbonge quality straight run petrol. This na better quality petrol where you fit trust to. Time don't reach to care for una engine them. Buy
better quality Dangote petrol.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us now, there is nothing, we are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 𝐴괤ᴜ as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial. Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you, roommates, as we discuss the situations.
Thank you very much for staying with us and welcome back to the Situation Room. Don't forget that by 5:30 we'll have our sunset news on Mainland FM, and by 6 o'clock I would also come back with my entire sports crew to take you the world of sports in sports crews. And tonight is going to be a major night as Europe's elite football competition, the Champions League, returns. But it's a unique night because there's going to be a playoff, two-legged playoff between defending champion Manchester City and former champions defending champions Real Madrid and former champions Manchester City. But all of that will be by 6 o'clock. And we'll also have a giveaway. 2 lucky winners will be winning a meal voucher courtesy of a friendly restaurant. So you have to keep with us by 6 o'clock. But of course, we're back in the Situation Room. And my guest on the show today has been Mr. Chijioke Alexander Orji. He's a certified management accountant, a project manager, environmental campaign, advocates, the social crusader. He's just a man that touches every sphere of humanity, and it's my pleasure to have him join us on the show today. Please, first off, let me thank you for staying on the line. Before the president, committee set out to bring up conversation of oil exploration, let the people in the states or the states occupying the region feel a sense of belonging. I'll continue with that conversation, Mr. Orji.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, my brother. The truth is that the Niger Delta problem, they know the problem. But if they know the solution, that I cannot tell. As a matter of fact, in Nigeria, I have decided to rate the rulers as some, not all of them. I use there are those we know from the very first go. Once the whistle is blown, they are on the mission of looting. And it has become like a pandemic, it's everybody you just place at leadership. It's only a matter of weeks you begin to hear how the ministry thinks, and then when he finally leaves or taking off or disengaged, you now hear the humongous,
amount of money that's been mismanaged.
That suddenly disappeared by air or was swallowed or something, And then at the end of the day, there is never conviction, You have these individuals walking upright, and the same set of people receive gifts from people who don't pay tax. I don't know if you're getting the picture.
I'm with you.
We're now in the era of Nigeria where people will say, I got a 2 billion naira card gift. From who? What does this person do to give you a 2 billion naira card gift? Are those funds and the sources of the fund taxed? Is it legitimate? It's the same crucial issues we have within the Niger Delta, where selected few are in the midst of enormous, stupendous wealth that you cannot explain
The source.
for a nation that its people are hungry and poor. This is a country that, based on the UN, UNICEF data that are out there, telling us the number of Nigerians that go to bed hungry, including the ones that wake up being hungry. And then you now come to the Delta region where it is difficult to even grow healthy foods. Then we're not even talking about the environmental assessment issues that over time have been reported widely. When people consume this contaminated food, fish, call it vegetables or anything, the after effects of what these people go through in later years, we have not even come to that region yet. Because what happens that people are on their own once they have been subdued with the battle. Every Niger Delta son and daughter is faced with endless battle to survive, either by hunger, environment, call it, so many things that you would wonder in today's world if this region should be faced with so much, where indeed so much of wealth is being pumped out. And we're asking, what is going to happen now that in few years, the oil is no longer going to be the black gold? What will happen to that region? If it is being abandoned today, what will happen to it tomorrow? Because it is very near. And the businessmen will take their boxes and take a walk. What is happening within the mining sector, where we have now seen some dictators who came on board and even created they call them mining police, and use them as their own personal escorts. We'll come to that. But this is even more touching, my brother. What you saw in Bayelsa is perhaps not even a taste of the iceberg. If you go to the rural communities in Bayelsa and the rest of the Niger Delta region, you'll probably cry to a point where tears will no longer come out. Because you will see where human beings have been reduced to worse than how animals live. All because these people want to be law and abiding. And then these people who are enjoying the royalties are the ones you can see children. I'm not talking about teenagers, I'm talking about children.
Kids.
The very first time I saw a young child holding a wrap of $10,000 in Abuja, I said to myself, it is finished. Because these individuals who are rulers have made it that it is now their entitlement and rights to ensure that Nigerians are subjected to these poverties in the midst of the plenty, so that they and their children can continue to enjoy wasteful, enormous wealth. And that is why there may not be an end to the pains in the Niger Delta. We're not even talking about an account of what has happened over the years to a point where Nigerians have been subjected to the mocker and the divisions that continues to occur when these businessmen and cabals refuse to agree. If you look at what is happening within the region, there is always a question of who is in charge? Nobody to answer. Because all they tell you is the powers that be that decide. Recently, when I mean recently, few months and year ago or plus, we were told Nigerians crude out, a task force came on board. And after the agreement with Tompolo, Boilov, and a few others who have been sent on to pipeline surveillances now, and a few other individuals, we suddenly started hearing, that they have seen pipes that have been laid for 15 years, for 12 years. Oh, so they even knew that these pipes have been there for 12, 15 years. Suddenly, we started hearing that the naval struck illegal bunker vessels on the sea. The vessel owners were not accounted for. The crew members were not accounted for. That is one. Then suddenly, miraculously, the crude output began to rise. And all of a sudden, the man at the center, 𝐴ᴤᴜ, began to also show the dividend that it is possible to get these things back to increasing the output. And today, we now hear the numbers that they report daily as the output of Nigerians' crude oil. Yet, not a single person has been apprehended,
or prosecuted,
jailed, or killed, or even shamed, because the biggest achievement now is to shame them. I'm not aware if any of them have been shamed. The only thing they have done is to invest in trying to kill some of us who have these data. I'm wishing that President Tinubu will set up a committee and say, bring these things because we're ready to face it. We are ready to embark on this battle. And you will be amazed at the number of detailed data with proofs that we brought to this committee for these things to be really thoroughly addressed.
Mr. Oji, let me hold your thought from here, because we're scenes that we've lived with for decades. But if you also look at some of the moves that have been made in the last few years to bring some development and sanity to that region, for instance, there was the amnesty program that was introduced by the administration of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, the establishment of the Niger Delta Ministry, the funding of the NDDC. You also look at very recently the approval of the president to establish the Federal University of Environment and Technology, FUET. But a lot of these developments does not seem to reflect in the daily life of the people of that region. You talked about the level of degradation and segregation in that particular state, in some of the states in that region. I've also seen a few of them. Is this the fault of the leaders, or you think the people themselves are not sincere? Mr. Oji, I've heard where people said, oh, multinational companies in the Niger Delta, they will give employment opportunity to the people of that region, and the people of that region will sell it to outsiders. So you see Yoruba people holding employment in the Niger Delta state because the slots were sold. Is this a fault of leadership, or you think the followers themselves have also signed up for this level of destruction on their own farmlands?
In one simple answer, I will answer it. My former partner and boss told me something in one discussion. He said to me, he said, have you ever seen a hungry stomach that is honest? It's impossible. Because the people are hungry, they are easily, swayable. But again, it is the problem of leadership. Just like you mentioned, certain of these ministries are very key, especially with the setup of the the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project, which was also meant to address the major lingering issues, especially with the pollutions and some projects which the commission has been doing lately too. But the thing is the sincerity of the purpose. Because while these things may exist in the Niger Delta or set up for the Niger Delta, who and who is in charge matters. Because the control and nerve center still comes from Abuja. I'm aware that some projects were supposed to have taken on at the tail end of the immediate past administration. But the new, it's your own people, subjecting them to war. They have realized that Nigerians have been cowed into. Once you make them hungry, they will chase after food and ignore the major things.
That is a bigger challenge.
Right. Look at what is happening. Nobody's asking for accountability. How can you be borrowing on my behalf? You're not telling me what the money is used for and how it was spent. And then we're seeing the flagrant abuse by the people who got themselves in, whether by hook or crook. They're not accountable to the Nigerians. It is now a business of Pali. And those who speak up, you go after them with all the machineries of the states, including those who were part of the arrangements. Yes? Because the people like Amechi and Erufai speaking out, who were all part of the arrangements and part of the bloc, it simply shows that they have been taken away from the pipe where they all drink the milk from.
So everybody now seems to have an opinion.
Once you have a child sucking the mom and you pull out his head, he will look around. If he doesn't see any reaction to put the head back, he will start crying. That is what is happening. Nigerians need to know the truth. These leaders who have become rulers are brutal, and there is no end to what they can do. Their destructive path is to continue to enslave Nigerians and continue to kill and maim any of us that speak up. As a matter of fact, the continued battle that some of us face on daily basis only needs the grace of God to survive. And I also want to continue to praise those who are making serious efforts, such as the 𝐴ᴤ. What you hear is people decamping from this party to this party. It's part of the swallowing process. Once they have been gulped, they don't speak up anymore, because they tell them that they have to what? Comply to table manners. And when you're on the table,
you don't speak.
You don't talk while. Yes, you don't talk while you're eating. So it's only when you are kicked out from the table you said no.
They start crying.
I'm from this region against the deprivation of the Niger Delta people.
He's on the table.
What people should be asking now is, where are the houses addresses of Heineken and Co., which we're going to release very soon, so that the people of Niger Delta would go there and eat in their houses. As a matter of fact, that is one way to address the issues, by ensuring that the people know these are the people who have been collecting this loan, these are the people who have been managing the loans. Okay, Oga, we need to come and eat in your houses first. Another major critical issue is that the media, which is being guarded, must continue to speak up. We know the works that you people are doing are not easy. And you must continue to remain impartial at every time, at every point in time. Because it is no longer the courts that is the hope of the common man.
It is now the media.
And you know, one thing that I feel that Nigerians have been making mistakes and over the years, they keep saying that the court is the hope of the common man. They've not been factoring the rich. So how can you say that you set up a court for the common man? What will happen to the rich? They will have to fight back. So the rich have been fighting because they have not been caught to say a court of equity, justice, and fairness.
Mr. Oji.
You hear senior advocates on TVs coming out and telling you that the justice system in Nigeria is for the hope of the common man. No. It should be for equity, fairness, and justice.
I will have to let you go
Because the
now.
minute
I would love to let you go now. I'm really sorry we're pressed for time, but this conversation would have to continue. Mr. Oji, I wish I could reel out some of the messages that we have here. A lot of questions that have been directed at you. Maybe before the end of the week, I would find time to still go back to this conversation, but we're really pressed for time today, and I'll need to let you go. And I appreciate your time on the show for us today.
Thank you so much, Akwe. You're doing a good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, I give you my word that on the prompting of my producer, I would have to bring my guest back because it seems we have a lot of conversation that we need to close up today. But we'll have to go. This program returns tomorrow, 4 p.m. But that would be by Sage Babalola because I would be here by 1 to 3 p.m. For Midweek Politics alongside Side Forward and Victor Achibong. Well, before then, there's going to be the news in a few seconds. And by 6 o'clock, I will come back for Sports Cruise live from Mainland 98.3 FM. Stick with us. We've got meal vouchers to give away on the show today by 6 o'clock. So don't go nowhere.